Table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 3, Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Social Development and asks, does she stand by her statement that, quote, welfare is having the biggest reforms that this country has seen for decades?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, yes, I stand by the part quote, but in its context the full quote was, let us be clear, welfare is having the biggest reforms that this country has seen for decades, and the opposition spokesperson cannot even get a main question in the House on it, and when we actually had a question, she got one supplementary question and she stuffed it up, end quote. So I congratulate that member for having another try.
Point of order, Grant Robertson. Point of order has been called.
Mr. Speaker, you've previously, when primary questions, which was in this case a very straight question about standing by a statement, the Minister answers the question. The Minister went on to talk about what primary questions a member has said. It's completely irrelevant.
Order. I take it, though, what the Minister was doing was completing the quote, and that's seen to be reasonable because order, I'm on my feet. I think it's not unreasonable for a minister to feel that a very small part of a quote can give a misleading impression. That's why often they'll stand by their statement and say, but it was part of this longer quote, which is what I thought the minister was doing. Now, the fact that the rest of the quote may not have been that appealing to the other side of the House, I don't think is something I can intervene on, because the members chose to use this part of that quote. And I mean, where I would be concerned is if what the Minister has just said to the House was not part of a passage where this bit that's quoted came from. But it seems she's indicated it is part of that passage. I'll hear further from the member concerned. Grant Robertson.
The problem is that the extra bit that the Minister was quoting probably should have been ruled out yesterday, because it began speculating on whether or not the member who was asking the questions had been allowed to get previous questions. This was a question about the magnitude of welfare reforms. I don't see that the Minister bringing in that material was relevant at all.
Well, I hear the members' concerns, but when members choose to ask where the ministers stand by a very selected few words from a quote, they run the risk of the rest of more of the quote being referred to. And on this occasion, okay, I have some sympathy with the member. Maybe the answer yesterday, if it was yesterday, maybe I was a bit slow in dealing with it, but it may well have been that the question in which was being responded to may have had some provocation, and I cannot recollect that back to yesterday. But I think at this stage, I can't stop the Minister from referring to the rest of some more of that quote. Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you. Supplementary to the Minister. Given her view of the magnitude of these reforms, why did she give organisations only 14 days from presentation to bid on a $150 million package of youth services?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, because we had the Welfare Reform Group go out and do an extensive submissions. We then had, going through the House many times, we've had... No, it was 4 weeks for the tender. Yeah. No, it's 4 weeks for people to tender. And actually out of that, Mr. Speaker, we have had 255 applications for that. So actually the NGO sector were quite capable of getting their tenders in.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. Given her view of the magnitude of these reforms, why did MSD have no answers for more than 20 of the 185 questions asked by tenderers, including what a parenting course should include when contracts are meant to start in just 8 weeks?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, because they're currently working that through with providers, so we want a degree of flexibility to discuss it with them. Actually, we have more faith in that sector and what they can do than obviously that member does. We believe that they know these young people better than actually we do in this House, because they work with them every day, and they will be able to provide the kinds of services, and we are giving them a degree of flexibility around that.
Jacinda Ardern.
Given her view of the magnitude of these reforms, why was she unable to provide an answer on Q&A when asked how many young people not in employment, training or education would be affected by her reforms?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, that was actually not the question I was asked by that reporter, so it was actually completely different. So what we are seeing, though, and let me give the member some of the statistics. So in the last 18 months, we have seen unemployment for young people reduce significantly. So at its height, we had 23,500 on the unemployment benefit. We now have 14,000. 14,000. A lot of work to do, we admit that, and that's part of these reforms.
Point of order, Mr.
Point
Speaker.
of order, Jacinda.
I seek leave to table the transcript from the Q&A programme last Sunday, which demonstrates that was the question the Minister was unable to ask.
That we don't table transcripts from recent TV programmes. Does the member have a further supplementary question?
Yes, supplementary, Mr.
Jacinda
Speaker.
Ardern.
To the Minister, given her view on the magnitude of these reforms, why was she unable to provide an answer to written question 01112, which asked the average time spent on the DPB, a figure that's surely important to the design of her reforms?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, I can't remember that question on its solidarity because I do get a number of them, but it would be quite fair to say that the members' questions don't often make sense, and so I have to actually work my way.
Now, order. I'm on my feet. The Minister will get to her feet and withdraw and apologise for that, because there is absolutely no justification for an answering a question to accuse another member of their questions not making sense, and that is unreasonable. I ask the member to withdraw and apologise.
Withdraw and apologise.
I thank the Minister.
True.
Jacinda Ardern.
Given her view of the magnitude of these reforms, why was she unable, when asked by media, to produce any evidence to support her claim that the reforms would save $1 billion?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
No, Mr. Speaker, as I described to the member yesterday, we have MSD and we have Treasury that have been doing the modelling on this, and they have got evidence of how they've done it. But as I say, this is new territory. This is new territory, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing the best modelling that we can on the facts that we have, but there are a number of factors outside of our control, and we believe that $1 billion will be saved over 4 years. I personally think that there's a good chance it'll be more than that.
Jacinda Ardern.
Given these answers, when will she admit to New Zealanders that her reform package has been rushed, that she does not know how much it will cost, save or how many people it will affect, and has little interest in the frontline view of what she calls the biggest reforms we've seen for decades? Or is it all smokes, mirrors and camouflage?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, let's a little bit of camouflage. The fact, a bit of Westie camouflage going on there. It would be fair to say, Mr.
I apologise to the Minister. I asked the Labor Party who asked the question to interject a little less, because I want to hear the answer. I'm most interested in the answer to this question. The Honourable Paula Bennett.
I'm actually thrilled that the opposition spokesperson has finally woken up that there are welfare reforms going on. We've been discussing them for more than 2 years. We've actually been out there publicly. We had the welfare reform working group come out there and discuss them. I mean, the member, it took her 6 months to actually remember that I'm no longer the member, the Minister for Employment, and actually it took 6 months for her to wake up to that, because she was still sending me questions. So it's nice that you're back. It's nice that you're getting on board, but actually welfare reforms have been discussed by this government for the last 3.5 years.
Question number 4, Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister.